Hello to everyone, and again we are in the session of the kotlin, and you know that as per our busy schedules we have to work with short videos nowadays, and as per we have done on the last topics also. So this is Vishal, and again we are working on some important topics of the kotlin. Then also we have to work with your some bigger apps also whenever you get a time. So let's see, today we choose some topics related to the lambda expressions, regular expressions, high order functions, inline function and infix that we have to do as this video, and also the next video session also we have to complete it, but we have to clear all the concepts related to that, but they are very important whenever you work within a kotlin. So thank you so much again for your love and appreciations, and also your loving comments that I read it, and whatever be the requirement, as I told you, you just put it that as per I get a time I will solve your queries. And also if you want any projects on GitHub, you can go for that, and I will share the link to you if you need any help from my side. So let us start the topic of kotlin, how we can do with the work with your lambda expressions, and what are the high order functions with there. So that's the important. Then we have to cover the regular expressions, inline and fixed notation, and also many more. So we have to continue that session, and that is an important. So let us start it. First we go for the theory. Let's understand some important concepts of theory basis, and then we work on the practical. So let's start it now. Okay, so now let's talk about the lambda expression. What is the lambda? Actually it is a function which has no name. The first thing is, that is the most important line, it is a function which has no name. So the lambda is defined with the curly braces, which takes variables as in the parameters and the body of a function. So the body of the function written after the variable and your arrow operator. So how you can do that? You just simply say that the variable, arrow, body of function. So that's the way you can work with your lambda expression. So lot of things we want to know, that what is the lambda, that we have discussed, but where we use it in a function and how we can implement it. So the lambda expressions, or a simply lambda, we can say it is an anonymous function, a function without name. These functions are passed immediately as an expression. So writing too much code on the functionalities, we can use it and make it the program easy. So like that, on a curly braces you can just say the val, whatever be the variable, and then you can call that variable as in a function. So you can invoke it anywhere. So I will discuss how we can do that. So this is a simple function without any parameters, we can call it. So I will describe you on practically, but first we discuss these also. So the program below has a lambda expression that accepts an integer as a parameters, as we discuss, but we will implement it. So here we can say that is the parameterized form. So here we have a product or any value, that's say the integer, second is integer, and whatever be your requirement, we have to go for that. So we'll show you how we can implement, but it's a simple expression, but we have to go again on theory. We can say that the lambda function is similar to an anonymous functions, and as an anonymous function is a function which does not have a name. What is the meaning of that anonymous function? That means first we discuss that what is a lambda, then we discuss the anonymous, now we go for the detail of the anonymous. So that means it is a function does not have a name. So the basically lambda expression is a way to create a function concisely, and then we can say that and pass them as an argument, return that values, we can call them as we call the simple functions. So that's the simple scenario of that, whatever be. And our lambda expressions can be treated as a variable. It means we can pass it an argument to the function, return it from the functions, etc. So say again, lambda function, it is very similar to an anonymous function, that means which does not have any name, we just use it. Basically lambda expression is a way to create the functions concisely and pass them as an argument and return them. That's the way we can work. It's a simple line. And we can create it as a variable. It means we can pass it as an argument to the functions. So here if we go for your any data type, this is a val, we go for that. And I know that you understand the val and wherever we use it. So val means here we can put it that values never change, and the data type, that's with an argument, and body of the functions. So argument are mentioned on the left side, and whatever be you can say that arrow, and whatever you can eliminate it if no argument is present on the left, and body of the lambda is present after that. So this is a very simple function example. You can say that val lambda, here whatever be your values of the functionality, you can call that and you can invoke it. So that's the calling of a lambda function. This also, whenever you talk about the lambda, that means either we can talk about the high order functionalities. So what is that exactly, we also discuss, but first we go for the lambda. So here the lambda, and we can say that here is an example of that, as we have done small programs like your length breadth concepts we have. So that's we have to cover like this. This is a lambda expression, and it is a Kotlin lambda expression. If there is only one argument present in a lambda expression, then it can be replaced with the keyword. It is a shortened use in a Kotlin and very useful. Then it keywords will represent the single argument passed to the lambda function. So if you go for your creation of the loop, so you can do that like this. This also I will explain how we can use that array one by one. We can explain it practically. So these we have to work with the expressions. Okay, so first we discuss it with the practical, how we can use this lambda and what that exactly. So let's see. Okay, so let us start in Android Studio. So first very basic steps, you have to work that's your val, and whatever be the name you want to say that, as I say that it is a greet, and say curly brackets, that's the way you can work. And inside that you can say that print ln, and whatever be you want to say that hi, this is lambda. So how you can call that? You can call that this greet be like this one. So that is a way you can work in a Kotlin. So this is a very simple basic rule of working with your lambda. So we'll see how we can use the other approaches of the lambda, how we can implement that, and what are the high order functionalities. These all you have to work. So this is a very simple basic step. Number one step you have to work. Okay, so let's see how we can use the parameterized. So you, for that, if you want to add, and simply adding is just, we can say that a plus b, and then we call that function. But here you have to go for your curly brackets, and inside you have to say the int, and then you go for your b int, and then say the lambda expression, and here you can say that this is your a plus b. So that's return it very easily. And if you want to check that whatever be the value, so you just say the result, and you can say that add calling but with the parameterized, so 1,2, and you can print ln. So that's the way we can find it. So easy. So this is the way you can work with your simple addition, subtractions, likewise, and you can also be do the complex queries within easy way. So that's the very easy approaches whenever you work with your lambda. So we'll show you more examples how we can approach this lambda expressions, how we can work with this kind of function. So let's see. Okay, so I explain you one more example. Like if you're making a function, you can say that this is fun area, and that means I just give you the contrast between these two. So that's a difference how we can use it. So simple function be like this is your b int, and you have to work with this area and say the return of your l into b. So that's the way you can work be like. So this is a example of returning the values. Okay, So here maybe, let me check. Okay, so that means return type your int, and then we can use like that. So, and you can call that area be like here and say 12 comma 20 or 23, whatever be, and this is your val, that is your result of, and you can print that result. But how when we use that lambda function? Okay, so for this lambda functions we no need to go with that. I'm just making be like a simple single line function. So say that val, and here ar, I'm not taking the same name, and this is your l colon int and comma b colon int, and that int be your lambda expression, and you can say that area is your l multiply by b. Okay, and here you can just say that val, this is your result, and that result be your ar, but with the values 12 or 23, whatever. Okay, so here not taking with the same name, I'm saying result 1. Okay, so that's the way you can work with your lambda expression, and you can print that values. So println result 1. So that's the basic difference whenever you're working with your function and whenever you do that single line functionality. That is called your lambda expressions. So I give you the more examples related to that, and also with the cross pros we just discuss about that. So that's the way you can work with your lambda expressions in a Kotlin. So as we discussed about a simple lambda expressions, how we can implement a small functions on that. So that's be the simple scenario. Now a most important topic, and that's be useful in your functionalities, or whenever you make your function in a Kotlin, that's called your high order function. So high order function or high level function is a function which accepts function as a parameter or returns a function or can do both. What is that? Which accept function as a parameter. So whenever we have done the simple parameters, data type parameters, but a function as a parameter is a new concept here, or returns a function or can do both. Means instead of passing your data types like int, strings and other types, we need to go for a function as a parameter. So simple concept is whenever we work for a function and the function inside as in the function parameterized, so that's called your high order. So as the lambda expressions play a very important role in these cases. So where we have in such a complex functionalities, we can implement this high order functions. Here's a small example, but we'll do it on practical time. And here we can say that other definitions, if we go for a high order function, is a function that takes another function as a parameter. So whatever way you go for, that means any definition, which one is easy, you just read that. So when we define a function that accepts a function as an argument, third definition it is, or returns a function from it, we call it high order function. So I think this is a very easy language. When we define the function that accepts as a function as an argument, means we pass some arguments or in a parameter, and we can return a function. So complete function, whenever we return, or a function, we can pass it as an argument. So whenever this kind of things happen, so this is called your high order functionalities or high level functionalities. So here is a very simple example, we just discussed about that, but first to understand that the simple concept of that. One more definition, if we go for, we can say that a conclusion, a function which takes another function as an argument or return a function is known as a high order function, and often lambda expressions are passed as an argument to a high order functions, and anonymous functions can be used for the same also. So that's you can do with that. So here is an example, simple examples how we can implement, and here how these high order function be used as an arguments. These all we can learn it practically, but a simple examples or theoretical part as we have done. So the simple concepts, high order function, how we can implement. So let's see in Android Studio. Okay, so let's start it in Android Studio. So here that is very interesting, that how we can call that the function as in the parameters, and how we can return that function as in the parameters. So that's called our high order functionality, but that is very important whenever we do the some complex programs here. So when I'm just giving a very simple example, I'm just saying the sum of two values. So if you have any values, that's called your integer, and y also be the integer, and we have in a function that's called your x plus y. Interesting. So these are very simple function value, and we have another function that is called your calculate, and that calculate we have to go for your integer, and y for integer, and I want to do some operation. So I'm giving any name to that. I'm just giving the name that operation. So you can see that this operations we can use it. So the operation and operation be here, I'm using very different. So my operation is that we have to go with your integer comma integer, and it returns that integer. So whatever you want, that if you want to return float or whatever, you can do that, and that function also be the integer return type. And here if I returning that value, I'm just saying that return operation, and that operation be your x comma y. So that's very easy and interesting topic whenever we work with the Kotlin. So it makes our programs very easy. So here you can see that these two be the functions, and I want to call that. So how you can call that? You can just say that val sum val, and that sum val is your calculate. These small things, but you have to clear your funda, that is the most important. And here my operation is sum. So you can check that println, so easy, and here you can find your sum val. So that's a very easy and interesting. So here you can see that this is the sum as in the parameter in this operation. Okay, so that's the way we can work with the things. And another, if you go with the with your multiplications, I'm just showing to that. That means you can make it any function and then use it. So if you say the multiplication, and here you can use it the multiply, and I'm just using that control C control V, and that is your multiplication val, and here I'm using that multiplication. So that's your multiplication value. So that means once you create your multiple function, you can call it on that function and then do your functionalities in a easy approaches, not to make it again and again, these kind of stuffs. And also there is another approach you can do that for the multiplications, that is if you go with the directly, you can say that multiplication multiplication 1, I'm just saying, you can say that calculate, and that's your 4 comma 5 comma, here this is your lambda expressions you also be used here as we discussed, and you can say that a multiplication with b. So that's be the another approach. So you can do anything whatever be a requirement on that. I will describe you the more examples in it, we can discuss it. Okay, so let's start the one more concept of high order functionality. So as we have done with this calculations and we can implement it, now I will show you in a brief one more time that how we can do that. So I'm using without parameterized function, and how we can use that lambda also. So see, if you have any function, you can just create a function and say high order or any name, whatever be the name of that you want. and here you can make any function name inside, that's colon, that we have to call, and this is the unit. This is a basic function, it not return, it's just a simple unit. So that means whatever be the value, and here this is your lmdb, and here you can just call it. That's very simple. So that means this function we have to call whenever we need anything pass in it, and that's not any parameterized form. So if you want to go with any value, just say the val, and you can express any lambda value, lambda val, and that lambda val, if I say that this is a simple print ln, and you can say that this is simple example. Okay, and then you call it here that lambda expression. So that is your high order, and you can use it as in a bracket, and you can pass that lambda val. So that's the way you can work with your expressions on the simple lambda. That means here that's your high order values, and here we can use that lambda as a unit, and that we have to call with your println, and then high order with these values we have to pass it. So whatever be the simple val, that means it passes here, that means it passes with the calling of that, that means complete function we have to call it like this. So lmdb, that's a complete function that we call it as a value or variable type of things. So whenever we pass as an argument or whenever we return these things, that's called your high order functionalities. So we'll see some few more examples that we have to discuss for making the simple discussions like that. That means that be useful in your complex kind of things in a programming. So but basic thing you have to clear. Okay, so if I explain this example within a simple way, so what we do here, we can say that any values be here, and this is our high order functionality, and this we call it, that we have done. So what is the meaning of these values? We discussed it. So here you give the any function name, just like lmdbd or anything like add, subtract, and multiplication, whatever your function name which you want to call local name, that is called your local name for the receiving a lambda parameter. And parenthesis means does not accept any arguments. Unit represent that the function does not return any value. Here the unit means not return any value, that is the most important. And in the main function we call that high order function, whatever be the val, so as we call it. So here I'm giving another example to you. If you want to pass something that is integer kind of things or a float kind of things and other things, so that we have to use it like that. So as we have done with a simple unit, so the main point is we have to discuss what is the meaning of the unit and blank parenthesis be there. Okay, so that's a simple expressions without any parameterized form within a or any return type values be. So now if you pass a parameters and that complete function be as a parameter, so this is your high orders. So I will explain you how you can pass it again as we have done in the calculations. So one more example I'm giving to you. Okay, so let's see how we can use that. So commented all, and just make a new function that's called your high order with params. Okay, and same you can call or make a lmdb or any name you want to say that, you just pass it. But here I want to pass it int arrow int. So that's with the kind of we have to show that this kind of function we have to pass that. Okay, and here whatever be the value, you just put it here. You can say the var result lm, that's passing value 2,3, and now you can print your result here within a result. Okay, so that's very simple. But how you can build your function, you can say the var or val, that is lambda vals, and here you can just pass it the value as an integer. So you can say that a int b colon int, and that's we have done as in a lambda expression before. This is your a plus b, that's it. And here you can call this function high order with params and lambda vals. So I think that's a very easy way or easy approach you can use this. So that's you can make a function and then call it like this. So you can create a multiple functions and you can implement it easily. And that's Kotlin. We can work in the Kotlin with easy approaches. But sometimes there will be some memory issues or operation issues. So how we can solve that? So there we, if you if you have done in C++, that's inline function. So that concept in a Kotlin we are working. So here such kind of things we have to work with as an inline functionality. So let's see what is that inline functionalities. So we have done the lambda expression, high order functionalities, and now inline. Okay, so if you're talking about the inline, so what is that inline? An inline function is declared with the keyword inline. And the use of inline function enhances the performance of a high order function. So as we are done with the high order function, so that means we can enhance it the performance. So the inline functions tells the compiler to copy parameters and the functions to call site. So the virtual functions or a local function cannot be declared as an inline. So declared of the local classes, declarations of the inner nested classes, functional expressions, and declaration of the local function default value of the optional parameters. So that's we have to work on, but they are not supported anywhere. As so the same funda as we have done C++. But main thing is what is the use in high order function. So high order function imposes certain runtime penalties because of whenever we use it, each function is an object and it captures a closure. That means it is a scope of variable that can be accessed in the body of the function. So if there be the many variables or there is some complex such kind of things, so there is a memory allocations for the function and the classes or the objects, and the virtual calls, that means it introduce runtime overhead. So memory issues and this kind of memory allocations be lot of there. So but it appears that many cases this kind of overhead can be eliminated. So that means if you want to use that lambda expressions and can or a high order functionality if you use it to solve some complex queries or use it, so in that cases you have to use the inline also. So in Kotlin, the high order functional, that is called lambda expression, all is stored as an object. So memory allocation for both function object and the classes and the virtual calls might introduce runtimes, as we discussed, that's overhead. So sometimes we can eliminate with the memories overhead and inlining that lambda expression. So in order to reduce the in an easy language, so in order to reduce the memory overhead of such high order function or a lambda expression, so we can use the inline keyword. So these kind of questions always be arise during the time of interview also. So that is very good. And whenever we can use the inline keywords, which ultimately request the compiler to not to allocate memory, and simply copy the inline code of the functions at the calling place. So that's the way we can work with inline. So I'm giving example practically how we can use this, and a simple high order functionality be what, as we discussed, and how we can implement that same high order functionality as an inline. So let us start it. Okay, so let's see one more explanation of high order functionality and how it do the memory allocations. So for this, if we have any function of high order, example I'm taking, and here I'm choosing the string that we need to pass it, and that I call that my call, and that call is colon, and that is your string, and that string I want to be as a unit kind. Okay, and once it's done, that means we have to call my call, and that my call I want to pass that particular string which need to pass it here. So this one. So that means there'll be some allocation. There'll be, if we call it multiple times, and how we can call that this unit values. So if we say that print value, I am using any print, and that print is hello, and here I am choosing a high order function example, and here I'm just passing that value, and that hello or value v I want to print it. Okay, so that means I'm just choosing this, and then see that. So that means in this example, if we go with that, there is some allocations issue. So as we discussed here, that means it behaves like that. My call returns here. So here the value be the my call function, but on my case I am using high order example, that's also be the my call function. Okay, so what happen when we call it, that means it look like this. It invokes the print function by passing the string as a parameter. So at this time we are using print function. Okay, so while invoking the print, this one, so it would create an additional call to increase the memory overheaded. So sometimes it happen because of we don't use it that parenthesis print, we are using the simple print on that cases. So that it works be like. So it means it works like a new function invoke that particular printing. So instead of doing this kind of order allocations on likewise that, so you can make it as a inline. So our problem or issue will be solved with this. You can call it. So that's the way we can work with inline sometimes whenever we need, or wastage of memory, likewise that. So here one more functionality be here. You can just create your inline function, you just call it and simply. And we have a lot of things related to on the coming plate. There is a non-local control flow, so related to the inline, and lot of stuffs we have to discuss in a small. So we'll discuss it on our second session of the video, but at this time you just learn that and just go for the basics. And parallelly, as I told you many times, but due to the lack of time, I have an issues to creating that, but I'm giving a good example of how you make a kotlin a small app, so that also be discussed very soon, and in a 3 or 4 session we will complete it. And parallelly we are working with the other RX kotlin also, so that's session that will also be discussed on in coming. Okay, so thank you so much for the day, and just uh, practice on these simple examples. That is very useful, and I also explained that where we need it in a complex programming cases. Okay, thank you so much.